Hey, what's up guys? So we're going to be talking about this new card that's coming out in the Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. This is Trifortressops. It's actually a pretty decent card when you first look at it, but then you're like, eh. But anyways, Konami actually wrote something pretty good. Basically, they talked about Maxx C and how Maxx C was introduced to battle 6 Samurais. And the thing is, 6 Samurais would still OTK you, and that was kind of a problem. Didn't matter how many cards you have, you just got OTK'd anyways. And the thing is, like, even with Gateway still being like a legal card, it doesn't really matter how many cards you draw because they still maintain an advantage because of Gateway. And so what they were saying is you would still get OTK'd even if you dropped to Maxx C. Trifortressops can prevent you from getting OTK'd. Basically is what it came down to. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They actually kind of, understand some of the game mechanics, because sometimes I feel like Konami doesn't really understand what they're doing sometimes. They're like, oh, it's cool, just release these cards that are like so beyond broken. But anyways, let's go ahead and check it out. So this is Trifortressops. It's coming out Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. Dark, level 6, machine, 1600 attack, 2800 defense. This defense is pretty much like the point of this card. But anyways, during either player's turn, if your opponent summoned 3 or more monsters this turn, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned this way, it is unaffected by other card effects, but loses 500 defense during each player's standby phase. Now, the good thing with this, it counts normal summoning, because some decks normal summon multiple times. So you can drop this card in defense, prevent you from getting OTK'd, or maybe just stop your opponent from like making more monsters, because maybe they're afraid that you're going to XYZ next turn into something that could potentially hurt them. I'm glad it's not a level 7 monster, because that would promote more big eyes and more shenanigans to go on with elemental dragons. But the problem with this card is it loses 500 defense during each player's standby phase. And against a deck like Macro Rabbit, sure, it prevents their Logia from maintaining like huge advantage over the field, because you could still just get this card out. Maybe you can XYZ, but Logia would still be like, no, I'm gonna negate that, whatever XYZ you go for. It does have 2800 defense, which is nice, but it has that downside of losing 500 defense during each player's standby phase. So what it comes down to is your opponent, let's say, for example, they go summon Rabbit, pop Rabbit, go for Logia. You go, oh, it's cool, you just special summon 3 monsters throughout that turn. So let me just drop this Trifortressops. And then on your standby phase, it becomes 2300 defense, and then you pass it back to them. So that basically puts you in a position where you've tried to make a defensive posture. You're saying, I want to be on the defensive side. I don't really want to do anything. And then during your standby phase, like I said, you'll go to 2300 defense, and then when it goes to their turn, it is now at 1800 defense, which is no longer something like a threat, because they're just like 1800, no problem. Logia gets over that anyways. I'm glad at least it still would be 1800, because if it became like 1600, then they could like Guaiba you, then make another Logia, and pretty much at that point you pretty much lost the game. But the way I look at it is this card, it needs to be able to protect you a little bit more. I just feel like the downside of losing the 500 defense is completely unnecessary. If you're trying to go for a defensive posture, let the player go for a defensive posture. What this kind of forces you to do is it forces you to make a play with the Trifortressops. That either will be something through XYZ or synchroing with it, which is kind of good. I mean, at least it's a high level, so you can potentially make something like Black Rose and like maybe re-clear the field, which was something that's pretty good to do. For example, if 6 Samurais, they go like all in, and then you drop this, and then they can't really do anything against you. You're like, oh, it's cool, I can't get it over 2800. And then your turn comes around, you summon Effect Village, you go, it's called Black Rose the field. You could definitely like maintain more control over the game in that aspect. But I feel like the downside to the card, it shouldn't exist. The losing 500 defense, you should be able to sit in defense mode. I wish that made a card where if your opponent special summon 10 or more times, you can drop this card and you win the entire match. I want that card to come out, just because if you're special summoning more than 10 times, your deck is OP. Is what it comes down to. Or you're just using like Ultimate Offering gadgets, and that's kind of OP anyways. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the Trifortressops. I think it's a good card. I personally don't find it like useful at the moment, because Balancer is probably the best rank 6 XYZ we have. I know Hazy Flames, they can definitely make lots of rank 6 XYZ, so perhaps in Hazy Flames they'll try to, maybe they could use this card, but I'm not sure if it'll have any play in the meta. I find if it was level 7 though, that'd completely change it. But if you guys know any combos with this card, I'd love to know in the comment section below. But I think it's a pretty good card against 6 Samurais. Like I mentioned before, if 6 Samurais go all in and you could go Black Rose and like they like lost their field, it's pretty good. But if they like warning you, then you kind of went minus, and then your field's blank and you used your normal summon. But it does it does have the ability to prevent you from getting OTK. I wish it had more defense. Like, if it had 3,800 defense and had the effect, I'd be okay with it. But 28 plus losing the 500, it basically, because it's during each player's standby phase, it basically loses 1,000 attack. Like, I'm sorry, 1,000 defense. When you pass it back to your opponent, meaning like their turn, you drop it, and then your turn comes, and then you give it back, and then you pass your turn onto them. So that's just the downside with the card. I wish it was only during your standby phase to make it a little bit more viable. But like I said, if you guys know any combos with this, or you guys think it might be good in some decks, let me know in the comment section below. I think it might be actually decent in maybe machines, like going, if it was just level 7, you can go Fortress plus this card and be like, oh, it's cool, and then go for Big Eye and steal your stuff. But anyways, I don't think it's that great against Elemental Dragons as well, which is a deck that will be very, very popular in the future, because again, it loses those defense points, and that can be very key into the game. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Asian Eyes signing out.